sure overnight. Good morning, everyone. My name is Hannah Kruger. I'm a geneticist at the South African Stud Book and Animal Improvement Association. So today, my topic is the re-ranking of the imported Angus sires following integration of foreign genotypes into our national genomic evaluation. So, the Angus Cattle Breeders Society of South Africa was established in 1917. Their current complete pedigree consists of over 280,000 animals, and the number of imported sires that has been used in South Africa has been rapidly increasing over the last 15 years. Currently, there are 2,847 sires whose semen have been imported from 18 different countries on the South African Stud Book's logic system. Most notably from the USA and Canada, and then from 2 countries in Southern Africa. There are various limitations when it comes to including the information from these imported bulls within our local evaluation. These animals often have a limited pedigree depth, as we are generally only provided a 3-generation pedigree as required by law for importations. But generally this can also be lacking, especially for first-time imports. These bulls also have limited to no progeny records and performance data under our local conditions. With the assistance of SA Stud Book, the Angus Breeders Society of South Africa have been building their genomic reference population over the last few years. This has enabled our genetic group at SA Stud Book to implement a single-step genomic evaluation since March 2026. These genomic evaluations therefore also allows us to include the genomic information of these animals within our local evaluation. As a means of dealing with the previous lack of information to compare the genetic merit of foreign bulls within the local population, the country of origin percentiles were historically blended into the evaluation until sufficient local progeny were available. This avoids an initial underestimation of pedigree-based breeding values, or to bear the complete brunt of the inclusion of genetic groups. Although this served as a weak second prize, this method is far from ideal, as it does not account for G by E environmental interactions, population-specific allele frequencies, differences in genetic parameters, or genetic levels of different traits, as well as the different selection pressures between populations. Therefore, the aim of this study was to determine whether the integration of this genomic data of the imported bulls influences the ranking of these imported sires within our national genomic evaluation, to better account for all of these identified problems. The objective was furthermore to compare the breeding values and sire rankings obtained from multi-trait normal pedigree bluff analysis to those derived from a multi-trait single-step genomic bluff. In the study, the traits that were analyzed were birth weight direct, weaning weight direct, and weaning weight maternal. For this study, the genetic predictions of 194 of the imported Angus sires with recorded genotype information was fused. Also included in the evaluation was the provided pedigree information, some available progeny records, and their genotypes were available. And the genotypes of imports were mostly supplied by the semen companies. Since 2022, the Society made it compulsory for all imported animals to be provided with a genotype to be loaded onto our system. Just as a total perspective, the records of these 194 bulls represent a relatively small number within the entire evaluation, with over 280,000 animals in the pedigree and 20,852 registered active animals. The number of birth weights and weaning weights are also there in the table, and this shows that there are more birth weights being recorded than weaning weights. The genomic reference population of the entire population is 1,427 animals, which with a 63 to 37 split between male and female animals. This is the mixed animal model that was used in both evaluations. What we noticed that is concerning is the erosion of data between birth and weaning, dropping from 99% of the animals to 74% of the animals being measured at weaning. The breeding values were estimated using Mix 99. 2 evaluations were compared, the multi-trait pedigree bug and the multi-trait single-step genomic bug. For the genotype population, there was quality control and imputation to a density of 51,000 autosomal SNPs. And then we used the Paul van Raaden 1 method alongside a weighting of 0.1 for the construction of the genetic relationship matrix using the H-inverse program and blended with the A22 matrix to produce the G-inverse matrix that is provided to mix for the internal H-inverse construction. The first set of results showed that the Pearson correlations between the EBVs and the GEBVs for the 194 imported bulls. So birth weight direct had a correlation of 0.9, winning weight direct 0.8, and weaning weight maternal 0.7. Next is the ranking changes between the two runs, where the top 10 bulls indicated on these graphs is the top 10 bulls on the pedigree blood run. So this table, so again the weaning weight for the ranking changes, and then the table indicates the average change in rank across all traits according to the number of progenies that the bull have, and the figure at the bottom shows the average ranking change for each trait within the different progeny groups. So the results showed that the EBVs across all traits had a consistent upward shift upon integration of genomic information. This indicates that the genomic reference population captures more realized genetic relationships that were unaccounted for in the traditional pedigree blood run. The objective of the study was to determine how the rankings would change according to the inclusion of genomics. Subsequently, it was observed that the animals with no known progeny records showed the largest average rank movement between the evaluations, namely an average of 35.7 positions, which is nearly double that of the animals who have 51 plus progeny. This is consistent with published observations of single-step GFLAP, where genomic information improves the genetic merit for young, unmeasured or unproven animals. The majority of the large rank movers were animals who had 2 or fewer progeny. The maternal trait consistently showed large rank movements across all progeny groups, and this suggests that an increase in direct progeny records does not stabilize the maternal EBVs the way it does for direct growth traits. The maternal EBVs relies heavily on the female relatives' performance records, such as from dams, granddams, and sisters with calves. For the imported bulls, all of these records of female relatives are in foreign databases that we do not have access to for a local evaluation. So this will affect the estimation of maternal breeding values, as these bulls lack the specific daughter information needed, regardless of the number of progeny that they have. This effect could also be compounded as the genomic reference population for the South African Angus represents only 37% females, which results in a less representative reference population for these maternal traits. So the movement of these 194 imported bulls within the entire bull population of the South African Angus varied between the traits. So for birth weight direct, the overall stayed in the 2/3 bottom of the population, but 3 more bulls did make the top 25% for the trait, meaning that there are some growers within the group, but they are generally bulls that give you lighter calves. So for the weaning weight direct, the biggest improvement was seen with the group moving from the bottom half of the evaluation to the top half. All of the bulls in the top 10% more than doubled, as well as the top 25%. So for the weaning weight direct, 159 out of the 194 bulls improved their rank within the weaning weight group. For weaning weight maternal, the effect was less, but they moved closer to the median of the group of all the bulls in the evaluation, with 140 out of the 194 bulls who improved their weaning weight maternal EBV. Therefore, in conclusion, the results show that the inclusion of genomic information via SSGFLAP resulted in systemic upward shift in breeding values across all 3 traits, reflecting the capture of realized genetic relationships between the animals that the pedigree-based blood alone was unable to account for. The genomic information had the greatest impact on animals with limited pedigree information or progeny records, and showed that maternal EBVs proved uniquely resistant to stabilization by progeny count, reflecting the biological requirement for locally recorded daughter performance data and highlighting the need for continued development of the maternal genomic reference population. Overall, the genomic run resulted in improvement of all of these bulls rank analysed within the entire South African bull population. My recommendation going forward for the society would be to encourage our breeders to genomically test older cows who are more representative of the population, as well as having measured progeny in our population with weaning weight. So this is similar to a project that they are doing in Australia with Better Be Scientific called Angus Legacy, where they are encouraging their breeders to genotype the older cows so we can get a better representative population. Thank you very much. That's it.